This video is being recorded during the WGA and SAG strike. I'm in support of all the writers and actors asking for fair pay. These TV shows would not be possible without their hard work. A way to donate to their cause is in the description below. Hello everyone, welcome back to Flying Solo with Kat, and today I'm going to be talking about episode 7, and it's going to be more of a chill video. There wasn't much that happened in this episode, but it was still a pretty good episode. So jump into that and discuss a couple things, and then of course I'll read a couple of my favorite tweets from the week. So let's go ahead and get started. First, I want to talk about Hera's trial, specifically everything that went on and why it was actually so important to see that for the New Republic. Senator Hamato literally sucks. I hate him. I want to kill him. And he is terrible. But he makes a really interesting point for where the New Republic's at and why the New Republic struggled, especially with like certain senators and everything, caring about more about themselves than like the bigger scheme of things. As for Hera, she made that great point of saving the New Republic from him and not herself. And that was just amazing. It was a great line delivery as well. And then we actually had C-3PO. And if you remember from my prediction video, I said Leia Organa is going to at least be mentioned and showed up, and she was mentioned beforehand. But actually, C-3PO showed up on behalf of General Leia Organa. And that was just, like, I know every episode I always say I get really emotional in certain parts, but this one I got kind of emotional at, just with the, like, thought. And it was done very well to be respectful to Carrie and everything. And it's been many years. I don't know the exact year. I think it's been more than 5 years. But it's still hard to this day. I'm happy we have these movies and have this world to carry on her legacy, as she should. And she did so many other things as well that was, amazing for her. But I'm happy that we're able to have this universe that still, mentions her and respects her in the way that she needed. And that was just really nice to see C-3PO and to hear her name mentioned again, because she would send 3PO to go help Hera. She wouldn't come herself, right? She's got better things to do. And I just feel like that was just so in character and just done really, really well. So that's my thoughts on everything. Mon Mothma at the end kind of being very serious, very much the Andor Mon Mothma that we know of, being concerned. Is, Thrawn's return inevitable? Is he truly going to come back? And I loved that scene from Mon Mothma because it felt like we were back in Andor and with the political side of things, and Mon Mothma playing both sides. So to me, I really liked that, and I loved that added scene to that. Also, Chopper wanting to just kill every senator and just commit some more crimes is such a mood, and I feel that. And I just loved Chopper in this episode. I found he was such a cutie and really funny. So then we see Ahsoka and Huyang arrive with the Purgles. Unfortunately, there's like a Imperial mine out there, so the Purgles have to run away. I'm glad none of them died, though. I would have been really sad. So, but they do drop Ahsoka and Huyang off at Perdia, and Thrawn can sense them through the mothers. And, of course, they get attacked on, then Thrawn pulls back for a bit, and then they get ambushed again. And the whole tactic of that, and to show his mastermind skills to the test. And I really found that really interesting to watch and quite fun. But, of course, they escape. Shocker. And Sabine, and we go back to Sabine and Ezra with the Noti. I love the Noti. They're so cute. I love when Star Wars is Star Wars and they really bring these creatures and these different groups of people together. And the Noti are just so cute. And I love it. As for Sabine and Ezra, it is kind of like interesting that Ezra's so fine with Sabine just being like, oh no, it's complicated. I can't tell you how I got here, but it's pretty bad, but I can't tell you. I think because Ezra already knows. I think Ezra probably knows that Sabine made a deal with Thrawn to find Ezra, but then that would bring Thrawn back. I think Ezra is smart enough to understand that, but I think he's like, I haven't seen you for 30 years. Honestly, I don't care what happens next. And not caring in a bad way, but not caring in the sense of when we get to it, we'll get to it. And I think that's Ezra just coming to peace, with himself and everything. So I found that very, very interesting, but not necessarily like too much. I mean, it did get annoying after a while because it's just like you kind of want Sabine to tell Ezra already because Ahsoka is going to have to say something, right? So for me, it's just like I hope it's still not a blow up scene to where they start yelling at each other and Ezra being like, well, why didn't you tell me? It's like, Ezra, you could have connected the dots. It wasn't that hard to really see that Sabine probably made a deal with not that great people to get back to you. So, I don't know. It's interesting for story-wise. I think they're just prolonging it. So, I hope that it's ends up being done well. I think that's all I can say about it. So Thrawn sends out his soldiers with Shin-Hati. Baylan is not fighting. I don't understand what Baylan is doing in the best way possible. I'm excited to see where his character is. In real life, back to real life, I'm wondering if they are going to recast him with a different actor. I think that Ray Stevenson just did an amazing job as him, and I would hate to ask for anyone else to reprise the role, but we do have to be realistic in the sense of he passed away, and he will always be immortalized in this character, but they shouldn't just completely write off the character, in my opinion. I'm very open to recasts. I think with both people getting canceled and also people passing away, I'm very open to recasts, and I think that would be more respectful in a way than doing CGI replacements of them. That's just my 2 cents on it, though. I really don't know the legal standpoint of what goes into it, but I do hope that Baylan Skoll gets developed on, and it feels like he's going somewhere. We are not going to get all his development in the 8th episode. There's no way. And then the season ends, and then that's it. So there's got to be something more there that might be developed on. So I'm very interested to see where it's going. I don't know what his plan is. I really don't. I don't know what he is going to do with what he has. I mean, he sent Shin-Hati off, and it doesn't seem like Shin definitely respects him, but I don't think she's as connected with him as he is with her. And I think even Baylan senses that and realizes that, so that's why he sends her off to go fight, and he knows he will probably end up betraying him, but all in due time. So I don't know. He's just really interesting, and I feel like I don't know much about him, and I want to know more. And that's also why I'm really sad that the last episode is next week. So I find it a bit, I just want to know more about him. But Ahsoka offering Shin-Hati to help her, and for Ahsoka to save her, right? We could already see that Shin-Hati is back and forth, with who she wants to be and why she's here and what's her purpose is. I would love if Ahsoka started training Shin-Hati. I just feel like that's more her. Sabine doesn't really seem. I love Sabine, but I'm not really into the whole Ahsoka trying to train Sabine. It just feels like they're both like they're very much Anakin and Ahsoka in that way. And I do think that's why Dave found it so perfect. But part of me really wants it to be more, I want it to be more of a Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, or even a Dooku Asajj Ventress type relationship, to where Shin Hati has a lot of power, but she's more subdued and more quiet and, not as cocky. And then the master kind of being the same way, and to where they know what they're talking about. They also have room to learn. So I think that I kind of wish that it would actually be Ahsoka and Shin Hati and not Ahsoka and Sabine. But you know what? What can you ask for? I'm not too mad about it. And then at the end, Ahsoka hugging Ezra, and that was just such a beautiful scene with her, and her hugging him and her laughing and holding him. It was just amazing. Also, Ahsoka not being mad at Sabine. The actors did a lot for that, where Sabine didn't want to say anything, and she was kind of looking at Ahsoka. Should she be happy? Should she be scared? Should she be sad? And Ahsoka just kind of stares at her, not angrily, just regularly, and then goes over to Ezra and hugs him, and then Sabine starts to smile as well. So I found that really interesting, and I'm excited to see where that's going to take the two of them, and where that's going to take Ezra in the next episode. Back to Thrawn, I feel that he may be a bit overconfident. That he may, because he says at the end, even though they lost the fight, that, we had time loading the Chimera, and they didn't stop us from doing that. So we still have all that time that they wasted coming together. And, of course, to all of us, we're like, Thrawn, are you dumb? That's going to just make them stronger together and then defeat you as a whole. But I think Thrawn brought this up with someone. Thrawn has to look at the good side of things, because he's been trapped there for 30 years. If you've been trapped there for 30 years, wouldn't you want everything to go perfectly? And, of course, with Thrawn, he's not as delusional to say, oh, no, they just won this one, but we're going to win the next one. He's very much like, well, yes, we lost this one, and we need to do better, but also we had time for loading our resources, so we are actually one step ahead of them. And I think that's kind of where Thrawn is at, and trying not to lose his sanity of he has to make everything perfect to go back to the galaxy he once was in. So should be interesting. I found that just entire characterization really interesting, and for Dave to go that route was done quite well. So very, very exciting about that. So overall, very good episode, a lot more chill. Oh, haha, I forgot to mention the Ahsoka and Anakin hologram. Everyone was freaking out, and I was kind of okay, that's fine. That kind of makes sense. I always kind of thought there would be holo records of Anakin and his training, and I always thought Ahsoka would kind of watch those and do that. But it also showed that Ahsoka is offering help from her master once again, and accepting him as his master. The fact that in that episode she says he was a good master, and I mean, that also made me emotional as well. Just for her finally accepting that even all the bad things that he did for the time that they were together, it was good. And he taught her a lot, and he legitimately taught her how to survive, how to live. And that was really special. The Asajj Ventress mention, and Count Dooku, and General Grievous, that was just amazing. And we've never gotten Asajj Ventress name dropped in live action. So that was great. So that was really great, and sorry I forgot to mention that, but I found the episode being, fine. It was very chill, and I think it was a nice little calm episode compared to the last two that we had. So very, very well done. Now we'll go ahead and get into some of the tweets that I saw, and there are a lot of great ones. And I'm also with this section, I'm really trying to find people that are not blue checks. My reason for that is blue checks show up on feeds a lot more frequently than non-blue checks, and also blue checks get a lot when they have circulation on their posts, they get money from it. So a lot of times these posts are bait posts, or I've only seen one blue check account that is not a bait post account, and they just talk about the sequels like constantly, but he also talks about other things as well, and it's just kind of his opinion on it. So, but a lot of these bait posts that you'll see that get people really angry and retweet it are, do you think that Shin Hati is Captain Phasma? Like, and that was from a blue check. And it's very much people just trying to get traction, especially Star Wars Theory. Star Wars Theory does this as well. And him trying to just do a lot of bait posts and get money and ad revenue from that. And it's laughable. It really is. Because some of these takes, it's like, for one, how do people come up with this? And two, it's like, you look so laughably desperate. Why are you doing this? So I'm really going to try to stay away from the blue check marks and try to get people's, tweets. But it's all about what comes up on my TL and, when I see them and how I retweet them. So anyway, that being said, at Looply says, Shin looked so sad and scared in this episode. When Balin said that she's supposed to do this alone, she didn't know what to do. And when Thrawn's support left, she just then noticed how alone she is now. And I think that is important for Shin's character, really how alone she is. And she wants that kinship and, that the Jedi Order had, because she asked about the Jedi Order. But she realizes that there's not much that she has and not much that she can do. So it's, it is what it is, but she looked amazing in this episode. From N8 Mess says, Shinati about becoming Ahsoka's next apprentice, you'll see. Meanwhile, Sabine will be trained by Ezra moving forward. I find that interesting. I actually think I want Ezra training Jason. And I think that Sabine should train Shin Hati and Sabine. I think she should do both of them because they're both kind of in the same spot. And I think Ahsoka can take on two apprentices. I do find Ezra training Sabine, though, very interesting. I do think they would just clash so much that it wouldn't be a healthy relationship. But I did find that theory interesting, though. At Skywalker Thrawn says, now, I'm curious what incredible feat did Thrawn accomplish to help the Great Mothers in order for them to call him my lord? That's a very interesting point that I actually really liked, was what is the relationship between Thrawn and the Great Mothers? What has Thrawn done for them that they feel in debt? And what has the Great Mothers done for Thrawn to keep asking for their assistance? So I think we're honestly going to find that out in the next episode, and I think it's going to be really interesting and honestly maybe really surprising of what Thrawn has done and what the Great Mothers have done. At Cantino1234 says, some people are saying this episode was boring Star Wars. I guess I love boring Star Wars, lol. I like to have some substance and some character and dialogue in my Star Wars, not just action all the time. This episode was a blend of both. Yeah, a lot of people were saying, oh, this episode, a certain man, but this episode sucked. I don't know what happened, blah, 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 blah. And it just seems there's like two types of Star Wars fans. Well, yeah, that they only like it if it has their favorite character in it, or their favorite character is mentioned, or if everyone likes it, and if you hate it, then you're like the minority. Or everyone hates it and thinks it's dumb, and then they like it because they want to be different and they want to, not agree with everyone. But specifically for this episode, we had that certain person just like flip on a 180, and it just, made no sense as to, if you hate this episode, I don't get it. Like, you liked the last episode though. It just doesn't feel like it's that crazy of a stretch, and it seems like people only care about who comes back and who gets mentioned and, all of that stuff. And then it makes it look really bad for us that we're like really happy that C3PO showed up, and people get mad like, oh, well, they're just bringing him back for fan service and it's really dumb. And then a lot of us fans are actually like, no, it actually made sense that Leia would send C3PO to, help Hera. And actually, he's helped Hera before, so it made even more sense for him to go. And it makes our community look really, really bad on both sides. And it's kind of sad. So I love all of Star Wars. You all know this about me. Even some of the stuff that I'm not too keen on or not a huge fan of, I try to find what I like and what I like about that. I try to stay as positive as I can, and I think that more people need to do that. It's so easy to get negative on this app, but as for me, I find what's healthiest for me is staying positive. And yeah, I can always be a little mad and a little angry about certain things in the fandom or in the TV shows, but at the end of the day, I'm so thankful that we even have these shows and everything. So I always try to look at the positive, and I always hope that other people can too, because it's a lot better life to live, in my opinion. David L. Morgan says, so I'm really hoping there's a retcon and this guy was in fact on Hostinian Prime when it was destroyed. And that, of course, is talking about Senator Hamato. And oh man, I hated him in this episode. He was absolutely terrible. Yeah, I hate this guy. And he knows, like, he's super hateable. And, like, I wanted to punch him so bad. At Star Wars Battlefront Updates retweeted and said, if there's one retcon I agree with, it's this one. Can't wait to see his face when Thrawn shows up. Unfortunately, he is not on Hostinian Prime. We actually did learn about that in the Resistance. Very depressing. I kind of wish he died, but, I won't be that person. But yeah, no, he sucks, and I hate him, and I kind of hope that is retcon. That, he just happens to be on Hostinian Prime at the time of Force Awakens. For no reason. No reason at all. Just, having a great vacation. At Amidala Ahsoka says, the dark side join me versus the light side I can help you. I love this parallel. And a lot of these parallels were with Vader, join me, and together, we will rule the Empire. And Kylo Ren's, join me, please, to rule the First Order. And then we have Ahsoka saying, I can help you. Please come with me, with Maul, and we can sort this all out together. And then Ahsoka saying, I can help you, to Shin Hati. And that is maybe one of the best representations of dark side and light side. Dark side's so focused on power and joining them and not actually giving them anything, but, benefiting them in some way, while the light side is, I can help you. I can do something for you so we can get through this together. And it's really the contrast between light and dark, and I find that really, really special. That being said, that's going to be the end of this video. If you have any thoughts on Ahsoka and you use the X app, the Bird app, Twitter, tag me at AvengerCat and I will totally read it on the podcast. So thank y'all for listening, and I will see you in the next one.